Today, we're diving deep into project planning. We're going to uncover two truths that can take a simple schedule and turn it from just a list of dates into an actual strategic tool that works. Let's get right into it.
You know, we're all wired to believe that faster is better. And in project planning, that usually means finding the absolute shortest path to the finish line. But what if that obsession with speed is actually setting you up to fail? What if the fastest plan is the wrong plan? That's the big idea we're going to unpack today.
So here's our game plan. We'll start off in a perfect world where everything goes right. Then we'll see what happens when reality bites back. After that, we'll get into how to give our tasks a real purpose. And finally, we'll see how a great plan actually becomes a great communication tool.
All right, let's dive into part one. This is all about the dream of the fastest possible plan. This perfect vision of how a project should work if nothing ever went wrong. Now, the secret to speed in this perfect world is something called parallelism. A planner's first job really is to model the work in its fastest possible form. They ask a simple question. Based on the pure physics of the job, what can we do at the same time? If putting up walls doesn't stop you from doing the plumbing, then let's do them in parallel. So, this first crack at the plan is all about pure technical logic. It's about maxing out all the simultaneous tasks you can. It represents the best possible scenario, driven only by construction techniques. Think of it as the project's absolute speed limit under perfect lab conditions.
But, projects don't happen in a lab. They happen in the real world. So what happens when this perfect, idealistic plan slams into the messy reality of limited resources?
Well, reality always introduces a bottleneck. It could be a single piece of critical equipment, a one-of-a-kind permit, or just not enough people. We actually see in the project logs where a permission pass was created. This one little thing forces all those tasks that could have happened in parallel to suddenly form an orderly queue.
And this shift is so important. You see, the whole mindset changes. We go from asking what can happen together to asking, okay, with what we have, what gets to happen now? The focus shifts from what's technically possible to what's actually practical. All that beautiful parallelism gets reshuffled into a sequence. The plan gets longer, yeah, but it also gets real.
And this quote just nails it. A realistic plan trades the illusion of speed for the coherence of execution. You give up the fantasy of being done tomorrow for a plan that actually makes sense and, more importantly, a plan that can actually be done.
Okay, so we've built a realistic timeline. That's our first big truth. But there's another huge problem. Most of the time, a schedule is just a long list of tasks that really doesn't mean much to anyone except the person who made it. So, how do we fix that?
And here's the solution. You add another layer of meaning. By classifying activities based on their function, what they actually do, the schedule stops being just a list of names and becomes something everyone can actually understand.
And this isn't just a theory. We can see in the source material how a planner actually did this. They created a new custom field, calling it Type of Activity, or TOA for short. This wasn't just a simple label. It was a whole new way to organize the project, giving every single task a clear role and purpose.
Let's look at some real examples to see how it works. You have things like planning and supervision. Those were categorized as none. That doesn't mean they're not important, it just means they're support functions. Then you have hands-on work. Transport was labeled transport. Landscaping was labeled assembly. See? Now instead of just a generic name, every task has a functional identity.
So let's get to our final section and see how this one simple act of classifying things completely unlocks the real power of a project plan. It turns it into a tool that speaks clearly to every single person involved. This is what we call giving the schedule managerial meaning. A great plan does way more than just calculate a finish date. It communicates the logic of the project. It makes it crystal clear who's responsible for what. It gives the whole thing a shared sense of purpose. Because now, finally, different people can get direct answers to the questions that matter to them. The folks on the ground can filter for assembly tasks to see what they need to build. A manager can look at supervision to understand governance. The client can just focus on the big milestones. The schedule is no longer this one-size-fits-all monster. It's a dynamic dashboard for everybody.
And let's be really clear here. This isn't about adding more paperwork or bureaucracy. It's about adding meaning. It's about building a plan that communicates with clarity and purpose, so everyone is on the same page.
And that really brings us to the final thought here. A truly great project plan tells a story. It starts with a perfect dream, it adapts to the tough reality, and then it learns to speak a clear, functional language that everyone can understand.
So the question you should ask yourself is this: does your plan just calculate dates, or does it communicate meaning?